The Art of Staying Calm. Master Your Mind in a Chaotic World. Written and published by Rising Audiobook. Introduction. What if the secret to a peaceful life isn't escaping the chaos of the world, but learning how to remain calm within it? Every day, we are pulled in countless directions. Notifications compete for our attention. Deadlines create pressure. Unexpected problems test our patience. Our minds race from one thought to another, leaving us feeling overwhelmed, distracted, and exhausted. In a world that never seems to slow down, inner peace can feel impossible to find. Yet for centuries, monks have practiced a different way of living. They have learned how to remain calm in the midst of uncertainty, focused in the presence of distraction, and peaceful even when life becomes difficult. Their secret is not that they live without problems. Their secret is that they have mastered their minds. Imagine facing challenges without panic. Imagine hearing criticism without becoming defensive. Imagine dealing with uncertainty without constant worry. Imagine having a mind that remains steady while the world around you changes. This is not a fantasy. It is a skill that can be learned. In this audiobook, you will discover timeless principles and practical habits inspired by the wisdom of monks and adapted for modern life. You will learn how to quiet mental noise, manage emotions, let go of unnecessary stress, and develop a deep sense of inner calm that no external circumstance can easily disturb. Because true peace is not found somewhere outside of you, it is cultivated within you. And the journey toward that calm, focused, and unshakable mind begins right now. Chapter 1. Why calmness is a superpower. In a world that never seems to slow down, calmness has become one of the rarest qualities a person can possess. Every day, we are surrounded by noise, pressure, deadlines, opinions, and endless distractions competing for our attention. Many people spend their lives reacting to everything around them. They react to bad news, criticism, unexpected problems, and stressful situations without ever pausing to think. As a result, they often feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and out of control. Yet there are others who seem different. They face the same challenges, the same uncertainties, and the same pressures, but they remain composed. They think clearly when others panic. They act wisely when others react emotionally. What separates them from everyone else is not luck, intelligence, or talent. It is calmness. Many people mistakenly believe that calmness is a passive trait. They assume calm people are simply relaxed or naturally easygoing. In reality, calmness is a form of strength. It is the ability to remain steady when circumstances become difficult. Anyone can stay calm when everything is going well. The true test comes when life becomes unpredictable. When plans fall apart, when mistakes happen, when people criticize you, or when unexpected challenges appear, your ability to stay calm determines how effectively you respond. Think about some of the greatest leaders, athletes, and decision-makers throughout history. Their success was not based solely on knowledge or skill. Their greatest advantage was often their ability to stay composed under pressure. While others became emotional, they remained focused. While others allowed fear to cloud their judgment, they continued to think clearly. This ability gave them an enormous advantage, because clear thinking leads to better decisions, and better decisions lead to better outcomes. Imagine a ship caught in the middle of a violent storm. Massive waves crash against the vessel, and strong winds push it in every direction. The captain cannot control the weather, but they can control how they respond to it. If the captain panics, the crew will panic. If the captain loses focus, mistakes will happen. But if the captain remains calm, they can assess the situation, make smart decisions, and guide the ship safely through the storm. Life works in much the same way. You cannot control every event that happens around you, but you can control your response. One of the greatest benefits of calmness is clarity. When emotions take over, the mind becomes clouded. Fear exaggerates problems, anger distorts judgment, anxiety creates imaginary disasters that may never happen. A calm mind sees reality more accurately. Instead of focusing on everything that could go wrong, it focuses on what can be done right now. This shift in perspective creates solutions instead of stress. Calmness also strengthens confidence. Many people believe confidence comes from having all the answers. In reality, true confidence often comes from trusting yourself to handle whatever happens. A calm person understands that challenges are a normal part of life. They do not expect everything to go perfectly. Instead, they trust their ability to adapt, learn, and move forward. This creates a deep sense of inner security that is not dependent on external circumstances. Another reason calmness is a superpower is that it influences other people. Emotions are contagious. When one person becomes anxious, that anxiety often spreads to others. The same is true for calmness. People naturally feel safer and more confident around someone who remains composed during difficult situations. Whether you are leading a team, raising a family, or simply interacting with friends, your calm presence can positively affect everyone around you. Perhaps most importantly, calmness protects your energy. Every emotional reaction consumes mental resources. Constant worry, frustration, and stress drain your attention and leave you exhausted. Calmness allows you to conserve that energy and direct it toward what truly matters. Instead of wasting hours worrying about problems you cannot control, you focus on actions that create progress and results. The good news is that calmness is not something you are born with or without. It is a skill that can be developed. Just as muscles become stronger through training, calmness becomes stronger through practice. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you choose understanding over anger, and every time you remain steady in the face of uncertainty, you strengthen this powerful ability. As we begin this journey together, remember one simple truth. The world may always be chaotic, but your mind does not have to be. The person who learns to stay calm gains an advantage that no amount of money, status, or external success can provide. Calmness is more than peace of mind. It is a superpower that transforms the way you think, act, lead, and live. Chapter 2. The Hidden Cost of Mental Chaos. Most people recognize physical clutter when they see it. A messy room, a crowded desk, or an overstuffed closet immediately signals disorder. But there is another form of clutter that is far more damaging and often goes unnoticed: mental chaos. It doesn't fill a room, it fills the mind. It appears as endless worries, racing thoughts, constant distractions, emotional overload, and the feeling that your attention is being pulled in 100 different directions at once. Mental chaos has become so common that many people consider it normal. They wake up already thinking about unfinished tasks, upcoming responsibilities, financial concerns, personal problems, and countless other demands. Before their day even begins, their minds are crowded with stress. Then come the notifications, emails, social media updates, news alerts, and interruptions. By the end of the day, they feel exhausted, not necessarily because they worked hard, but because their minds never had a chance to rest. The dangerous thing about mental chaos is that it often disguises itself as productivity. Many people believe that constantly thinking about problems means they are being responsible. They assume that worrying helps them prepare for the future. In reality, excessive mental activity rarely leads to better solutions. More often, it creates confusion, drains energy, and reduces effectiveness. A restless mind spends more time reacting than solving. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every single day. At first, the weight might seem manageable, but as more items are added, the burden becomes increasingly difficult to carry. Eventually, even simple tasks feel exhausting. Mental chaos works in much the same way. Every worry, distraction, unresolved issue, and negative thought adds weight to the mind. Over time, this invisible burden affects every area of life. One of the greatest costs of mental chaos is the loss of focus. Focus is the ability to direct your attention toward a specific task, goal, or priority. Yet a chaotic mind struggles to remain present. While working on one task, it worries about another. While having a conversation, it thinks about unfinished responsibilities. While trying to relax, it replays past mistakes or imagines future problems. As attention becomes fragmented, productivity declines. Tasks take longer, mistakes increase, progress slows. This loss of focus also affects creativity and problem solving. The mind performs at its best when it has space to think clearly. Creative ideas often emerge during moments of calm reflection. Solutions appear when the mind is not overwhelmed by noise. Unfortunately, mental chaos leaves little room for either. It traps people in a cycle of constant reaction, preventing deeper thinking and meaningful insight. Another hidden cost is the impact on happiness. Many people believe happiness depends primarily on external circumstances. They assume they will feel better once they earn more money, solve a particular problem, or achieve a specific goal. While external factors certainly matter, inner peace plays an equally important role. A restless mind can turn even positive experiences into sources of stress. Instead of enjoying the present moment, it searches for the next problem to solve. Instead of appreciating what is going well, it focuses on what might go wrong. Consider a person who checks their phone the moment they wake up. They scroll through social media, read alarming news headlines, respond to messages, and review emails before even getting out of bed. Within minutes, their attention is scattered across dozens of unrelated topics. Their mind shifts from comparison to concern, from excitement to frustration, from one emotional state to another. By the time the day begins, they already feel mentally drained. The exhaustion did not come from physical effort, it came from the constant movement of their attention. Mental chaos also damages relationships. When your mind is crowded with stress and distractions, it becomes difficult to fully engage with others. You may hear what someone is saying without truly listening. You may respond impatiently because your mind is occupied elsewhere. You may become emotionally reactive because your mental reserves are already depleted. Over time, these patterns create distance and misunderstanding in relationships that matter most. Perhaps the greatest cost of mental chaos is that it steals your sense of control. Life begins to feel as though it is happening to you rather than being guided by you. Instead of consciously directing your attention, emotions, and actions, you become trapped in automatic reactions. External events determine your mood. Other people's opinions shape your thinking. Every new distraction pulls you away from what truly matters. The good news is that mental chaos is not permanent. It is not a personality trait or a life sentence. It is a condition that can be changed. The first step is recognizing its presence. The second is understanding that a busy mind is not necessarily a productive mind. In fact, true effectiveness often comes from clarity, not complexity. As we move forward in this audiobook, you will discover practical ways to reduce mental clutter, regain focus, and create greater inner peace. But first, it is important to understand this truth. The cost of mental chaos is far greater than most people realize. It steals focus, happiness, energy, productivity, and peace of mind. And until you learn to manage it, it will continue to quietly control your life from behind the scenes. Chapter 3. Taking back control of your attention. If calmness is a superpower, then attention is the source of that power. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, and every decision you make is influenced by where your attention goes. Yet in today's world, attention has become one of the most valuable and most contested resources. Every day, countless companies, platforms, advertisements, and devices compete for a share of your focus. They want your eyes, your clicks, your time, and ultimately your mind. The result is that many people no longer control their attention. Their attention is controlled for them. Think about how often your focus is interrupted throughout a typical day. You sit down to complete an important task, and suddenly a notification appears. You check a message, which leads to social media, which leads to a video, which leads to another article. Before you know it, 30 minutes have disappeared. What began as a brief distraction became a complete shift in attention. While these moments may seem harmless, They accumulate over time and significantly affect your ability to think clearly and remain calm. The truth is that attention determines the quality of your life. Whatever consistently captures your attention eventually shapes your thoughts, emotions, and experiences. If your attention is constantly focused on problems, your mind will become filled with stress. If your attention is dominated by distractions, your productivity will suffer. If your attention is directed toward meaningful goals and positive actions, your life will gradually move in that direction. In many ways, your attention acts like a steering wheel. Wherever it points, your life tends to follow. One of the biggest challenges of the digital age is that most distractions are designed to feel important. Every notification creates a sense of urgency. Every headline promises critical information. Every update suggests that something requires your immediate attention. Yet much of what demands your focus offers little lasting value. It simply keeps your mind busy. The problem is not that these distractions exist. The problem is that many people react to them automatically, without consciously choosing where their attention should go. This creates what we might call reactive attention. Reactive attention occurs when external events constantly dictate your focus. Your phone vibrates, and you immediately check it. A negative comment appears online, and you spend hours thinking about it. Breaking news interrupts your day, and your attention follows it. Instead of deciding what deserves your focus, you allow outside forces to make that decision for you. The alternative is intentional attention. Intentional attention means consciously choosing where your mental energy goes. It means deciding what matters most and directing your focus accordingly. Rather than reacting to every stimulus, you act according to your priorities. This shift may sound simple, but it is one of the most powerful changes a person can make. Imagine two individuals working on an important project. The first person constantly checks messages, browses social media, and responds to every interruption. Their attention is fragmented. Even though they spend hours working, progress remains slow. The second person protects their focus. They eliminate distractions, concentrate fully on the task, and remain present. In less time, they accomplish more. The difference is not intelligence or talent, it is the ability to control attention. Attention and calmness are deeply connected. When your attention is scattered, your mind becomes scattered. Every interruption forces your brain to switch contexts. Every distraction pulls you away from the present moment. Over time, this constant shifting creates mental fatigue. You feel overwhelmed, not because life is necessarily difficult, but because your attention is being stretched in too many directions at once. A calm mind, on the other hand, knows how to focus. It is not constantly chasing every thought, notification, or concern. It understands that not everything deserves attention. This realization is incredibly freeing. Many people assume they must respond to everything immediately. They feel obligated to absorb every piece of information and solve every problem at once. But true calmness comes from recognizing that attention is limited and should be invested wisely. One practical way to regain control of your attention is to become more aware of where it goes each day. Pay attention to what consistently captures your focus. Notice which activities leave you feeling energized and which leave you feeling drained. Ask yourself whether your attention is serving your goals or merely satisfying momentary impulses. Awareness is the first step toward change. Another powerful practice is creating periods of uninterrupted focus. Even 20 or 30 minutes of concentrated attention can significantly improve productivity and mental clarity. During these periods, silence notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and fully commit to a single task. At first, this may feel uncomfortable because the mind has become accustomed to constant stimulation. But with practice, focused attention becomes easier and more natural. It is also important to remember that attention influences emotions. The more attention you give to fear, anger, and negativity, the stronger those emotions become. Conversely, when you direct attention toward gratitude, solutions, learning, and growth, your emotional state begins to shift. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means choosing not to allow problems to dominate your mental landscape. Ultimately, taking back control of your attention is about reclaiming ownership of your mind. It is about deciding what deserves your focus, rather than allowing the world to make that decision for you. Every moment of conscious attention strengthens your ability to remain calm, focused, and intentional. In a world filled with distractions, attention is no longer just a mental skill. It is a form of personal freedom. The person who controls their attention controls their thoughts. The person who controls their thoughts controls their actions, and the person who controls their actions has the power to shape their life. That is why learning to direct your attention may be one of the most important steps toward mastering your mind in a chaotic world. Chapter 4. The Power of Pause. One of the most powerful abilities a person can develop is also one of the simplest, the ability to pause. Not for hours, not even for minutes. Sometimes, just a few seconds can completely change the outcome of a situation. Yet in today's fast-paced world, many people have lost this ability. They react instantly to messages, criticism, problems, and emotions. They speak before thinking. They act before reflecting. They allow temporary feelings to dictate permanent decisions. As a result, they often create problems that could have been avoided with a brief moment of pause. The space between an event and your response is where your power lives. Every day, life presents situations that trigger emotions. Someone criticizes you. A coworker sends an upsetting email. A friend disappoints you. A plan falls apart. An unexpected problem appears. In these moments, your first emotional reaction is often automatic. You may feel anger, frustration, fear, or disappointment. These emotions are natural and unavoidable. The problem begins when you allow those emotions to immediately control your actions. Imagine receiving a message that feels insulting or unfair. Your first instinct might be to respond immediately. Your emotions urge you to defend yourself, prove a point, or fight back. In that moment, reacting feels justified. But if you pause, even briefly, something remarkable happens. The emotional intensity begins to settle. Your thinking becomes clearer. You gain perspective. What seemed urgent a few moments ago may no longer require the same response. This is the hidden power of pausing. It creates space between emotion and action. Without that space, emotions take control. With that space, wisdom has a chance to enter. Many of life's biggest regrets happen because people fail to pause. Relationships are damaged by words spoken in anger. Opportunities are lost because of impulsive decisions. Conflicts escalate because someone reacts instead of reflecting. Often the problem itself is not as damaging as the reaction to the problem. A calm response can prevent a small issue from becoming a major crisis. Think about a professional athlete competing under pressure. During a crucial moment in the game, emotions run high. The crowd is loud. The stakes are enormous. Yet the best athletes do not allow pressure to control them. They slow themselves down mentally. They focus on the next action rather than the surrounding chaos. In many ways, success comes not from reacting faster than everyone else, but from remaining composed when others become overwhelmed. The same principle applies to everyday life. When emotions rise, your ability to pause becomes a form of self-control. It allows you to move from instinctive reactions to intentional responses. This distinction is important. Reactions are automatic. Responses are chosen. Reactions are driven by emotion. Responses are guided by wisdom. Pausing also helps you see situations more accurately. When emotions are intense, the mind often exaggerates reality. A small mistake feels catastrophic. A disagreement feels like a personal attack. A temporary setback feels permanent. But when you pause, you give yourself time to separate facts from feelings. You begin to ask better questions. Is this situation really as serious as it seems? What is the most productive way to handle it? What response aligns with the person I want to become? One of the simplest ways to create a pause is through conscious breathing. When stress appears, take a slow, deep breath. Then take another. This small action signals your body to slow down and helps interrupt automatic reactions. It may seem too simple to be effective, but some of the most powerful habits are often the simplest. Another useful practice is delaying important decisions when emotions are running high. If you are angry, avoid sending the email immediately. If you are upset, avoid making major choices in that state. Give yourself time to regain perspective. A decision made with a calm mind is almost always better than one made in the heat of emotion. Pausing does not mean avoiding action. It does not mean becoming passive or indecisive. In fact, it often leads to more effective action. The pause is not the destination, it is the preparation. It allows you to act from clarity rather than chaos. As you continue your journey toward a calmer mind, remember this simple truth. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can control what happens next. Between every challenge and every response lies a small but powerful space. Most people rush through it without noticing. The wise learn to use it. Within that pause lives patience. Within that pause lives self-control. Within that pause lives clarity. And within that pause lives the power to choose your response rather than surrendering to your reaction. Master the pause, and you begin to master your mind. Chapter 5. Managing thoughts without fighting them. Have you ever tried to stop thinking about something, only to find yourself thinking about it even more? Perhaps it was an embarrassing mistake, a difficult conversation, a future worry, or a problem you couldn't solve. The harder you tried to push the thought away, the stronger it seemed to become. This frustrating experience reveals an important truth about the mind. Fighting your thoughts is often what gives them power. Many people believe that achieving a calm mind means eliminating negative thoughts altogether. They imagine that calm people never worry, never doubt themselves, and never experience mental noise. But that is not reality. Every human mind produces thousands of thoughts every day. Some are useful, some are creative, some are irrational, repetitive, or completely unhelpful. The goal is not to stop thoughts from appearing. The goal is to change your relationship with them. One of the greatest sources of mental suffering is overthinking. Overthinking occurs when the mind becomes trapped in repetitive loops of analysis, worry, and speculation. Instead of solving a problem, it circles around it endlessly. A person replays the same conversation over and over, wondering what they should have said differently. They imagine countless future scenarios, most of which never happen. They analyze every possibility, searching for certainty in an uncertain world. At first, overthinking can feel productive. It creates the illusion that you are working on the problem. But there is a difference between constructive thinking and endless mental spinning. Constructive thinking leads to action, understanding, or solutions. Overthinking leads to exhaustion, confusion, and anxiety. Imagine sitting in a rocking chair. You can move constantly, expend energy, and feel busy, but you never actually go anywhere. Overthinking works in much the same way. The mind stays active, yet little progress is made. Hours of mental effort often produce nothing more than increased stress. The reason overthinking is so draining is that the mind treats imagined problems as if they are real. When you repeatedly focus on worst-case scenarios, your body responds as though those events are actually happening. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, stress levels rise. Yet the threat exists only in your imagination. In this way, overthinking allows future possibilities to steal peace from the present moment. One common mistake people make is trying to force unwanted thoughts out of their minds. They tell themselves, "Don't think about it, stop worrying, just forget it." Unfortunately, the brain rarely responds well to these commands. In fact, attempting to suppress thoughts often makes them return even more strongly. It is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The more force you use, the more pressure builds until the ball eventually bursts back to the surface. This is why managing thoughts requires a different approach. Instead of fighting thoughts, learn to observe them. Imagine sitting beside a river and watching leaves float downstream. Each leaf represents a thought. Some are pleasant, some are unpleasant, some are important, others are meaningless. Your job is not to jump into the river and chase every leaf. Your job is simply to notice them passing by. When you begin observing your thoughts rather than identifying with them, something powerful happens. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. This distinction creates freedom. A thought may say, "I'm going to fail." Another thought may say, "Something terrible will happen." Instead of automatically believing these messages, you can recognize them for what they are, mental events passing through your awareness. This skill becomes especially valuable during stressful situations. A person facing uncertainty may have dozens of fearful thoughts throughout the day. If they believe every thought, anxiety grows stronger. But if they observe those thoughts with curiosity rather than panic, they create emotional distance. The thoughts may still appear, but they no longer have complete control. Another helpful practice is questioning your thoughts. Not every thought deserves your trust. The mind often exaggerates problems, predicts disasters, and jumps to conclusions. Ask yourself, is this thought actually true? Is there evidence supporting it? Am I focusing on facts or assumptions? These questions help break the automatic cycle of overthinking and encourage more balanced thinking. It is also important to remember that thoughts gain strength through attention. The more attention you give a thought, the larger it becomes. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means choosing where your mental energy goes. If a thought is useful, learn from it. If it is unhelpful, allow it to pass without feeding it further attention. Calmness is not created by controlling every thought. Such control is impossible. Calmness is created by refusing to become trapped by every thought. A calm person understands that the mind will always generate noise. Worries will appear. Doubts will arise. Random thoughts will come and go. The difference is that they no longer treat every thought as an emergency. Think of the sky on a cloudy day. Clouds move across it constantly. Some are dark and heavy. Others are light and temporary. Yet, despite all that movement, the sky itself remains unchanged. Your awareness is like that sky. Thoughts are simply passing clouds. They come and go, but they do not define who you are. As you continue this journey toward mastering your mind, remember this: you do not have to fight every thought that enters your head. You do not need to win a battle against your own mind. Instead, learn to observe, understand, and release. The moment you stop fighting every thought is often the moment you begin finding peace. A calm mind is not an empty mind. It is a mind that knows how to let thoughts come and go without being carried away by them. Chapter 6. Emotional Mastery in Difficult Moments. Life is not measured by how we behave when everything is going well. It is measured by how we respond when things go wrong. Anyone can feel calm, confident, and positive when circumstances are favorable. The true test of emotional strength comes during moments of criticism, conflict, disappointment, uncertainty, and adversity. These are the moments that reveal the quality of our emotional mastery. Many people spend years trying to control external events. They want people to behave differently, situations to unfold according to plan, and problems to disappear. But the reality is that much of life remains outside our control. Unexpected challenges will arise. People will misunderstand us. Plans will fail. Circumstances will change. If our emotional well-being depends entirely on external conditions, then our peace of mind will always be fragile. This is why emotional mastery is such an important skill. Emotional mastery does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending they do not exist. It does not mean becoming cold, detached, or indifferent. Instead, it means understanding emotions, managing them wisely, and refusing to let them dictate your actions. It is the ability to experience emotions without becoming controlled by them. Emotions are powerful signals. Fear can alert us to danger. Anger can highlight perceived injustice. Sadness can help us process loss. Joy can reinforce meaningful experiences. Emotions serve a purpose. Problems arise when we treat emotions as commands rather than information. Just because you feel angry does not mean you should act aggressively. Just because you feel afraid does not mean you should avoid every challenge. Emotional mastery begins when you learn to separate what you feel from what you choose to do. Imagine a skilled captain navigating a ship through rough waters. The captain cannot stop the waves from crashing against the vessel, nor can they eliminate the storm, but they can control how they steer the ship. Emotions are like the weather. Some days are calm and sunny, other days are stormy and turbulent. Emotional mastery is the ability to steer effectively regardless of the conditions. One of the greatest threats to emotional balance is criticism. Most people naturally dislike being judged or corrected. Criticism can trigger feelings of embarrassment, anger, or defensiveness. The immediate impulse is often to argue, justify, or attack in return. Yet emotionally strong individuals respond differently. Instead of reacting impulsively, they pause and evaluate the situation. They ask themselves whether the criticism contains useful information. If it does, they learn from it. If it does not, they let it go. Their self-worth is not determined by every opinion they encounter. Conflict presents another opportunity for emotional mastery. Disagreements are unavoidable in relationships, workplaces, and everyday life. When emotions escalate, communication often breaks down. People stop listening and focus only on proving themselves right. Arguments become battles rather than conversations. Emotional mastery allows you to remain calm enough to understand the other person's perspective, even when you disagree. This does not mean accepting poor treatment or abandoning your beliefs. It means responding thoughtfully instead of reactively. Uncertainty is another challenge that tests emotional resilience. Human beings naturally crave certainty. We want to know what will happen next. We want guarantees that our efforts will succeed and our plans will work out. Unfortunately, life rarely provides such assurances. The future is always uncertain to some degree. People who struggle emotionally often resist this reality. They worry excessively about possibilities they cannot control. Emotionally resilient individuals accept uncertainty as a normal part of life. Rather than demanding certainty, they focus on preparation, adaptability, and action. Building emotional resilience requires practice. Like physical strength, emotional strength develops through repeated challenges. Every difficult situation becomes an opportunity to strengthen your ability to remain steady. Each time you respond calmly to criticism, you build resilience. Each time you manage frustration without losing control, you grow stronger. Each time you face uncertainty with courage rather than panic, your emotional foundation becomes more solid. One useful habit is learning to name your emotions. Instead of simply feeling overwhelmed, pause and identify what you are experiencing. Are you anxious, frustrated, disappointed, embarrassed, or fearful? Naming an emotion creates awareness. Awareness creates distance, and distance makes it easier to respond wisely rather than impulsively. Another important lesson is understanding that emotions are temporary. No emotional state lasts forever. Anger fades, fear subsides, sadness softens. Yet many people make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. Emotional mastery reminds us that feelings come and go like waves. We do not need to act on every wave that passes through. Ultimately, emotional mastery is not about eliminating difficult emotions. It is about developing the strength to remain grounded when those emotions arise. It is the ability to stay centered when circumstances become challenging, relationships become complicated, or the future becomes uncertain. As you continue mastering your mind, remember this: your emotions are powerful, but they do not have to be your master. They are part of your experience, not the ruler of your life. The more you learn to understand and manage them, the more resilient, peaceful, and effective you become. A calm life is not a life without emotions. It is a life in which emotions are guided by wisdom rather than allowed to run wild. That is the essence of emotional mastery. Chapter 7. Letting go of what you cannot control. One of the greatest sources of stress in life comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control in the first place. We worry about what other people think of us. We replay conversations from the past, wishing we had said something different. We try to predict the future, hoping to eliminate every possible risk and uncertainty. We become frustrated when events do not unfold according to our plans. In doing so, we spend enormous amounts of energy fighting reality rather than working with it. The truth is simple, but often difficult to accept. Much of life is beyond our control. We cannot control the weather. We cannot control the economy. We cannot control other people's decisions, opinions, or actions. We cannot guarantee success, prevent every setback, or predict every outcome. Yet despite knowing this intellectually, many people continue to invest their emotional energy in things they cannot change. Imagine standing in the ocean trying to stop the tide from coming in. No matter how determined you are, the water continues to rise. You can become angry, frustrated, and exhausted, but your emotions will not change the tide. The wiser approach is to accept reality and adapt to it. Life often works the same way. When we resist what cannot be changed, we create unnecessary suffering. When we accept reality and focus on what we can influence, we regain our power. Acceptance is frequently misunderstood. Many people think acceptance means giving up or becoming passive. They believe that accepting a situation means approving of it or surrendering to it. But acceptance is not resignation. Acceptance simply means acknowledging reality as it is. It means recognizing the facts of the situation before deciding how to respond. You cannot effectively solve a problem while denying its existence, nor can you move forward while constantly wishing reality were different. One of the most useful distinctions you can make is understanding the difference between control, influence, and concern. There are things you can directly control, such as your actions, habits, attitude, effort, and responses. There are things you can influence, such as relationships, projects, and outcomes that involve other people. Then there are things that fall entirely outside your control, such as the past, other people's thoughts, and many future events. The problem is that people often focus most of their energy on the third category. They obsess over circumstances they cannot change, while neglecting the things they can control. This creates frustration, helplessness, and anxiety. Calmness grows when you reverse this pattern. Instead of focusing on what you cannot control, direct your attention toward what you can do right now. Consider a traveler whose flight is delayed because of severe weather. One passenger becomes angry and spends hours complaining. They replay the situation repeatedly, growing increasingly frustrated. Another passenger accepts the reality of the delay. They understand that their anger will not change the weather or speed up the flight. Rather than wasting energy on resistance, they use the time to read, work, rest, or simply relax. Both passengers face the same circumstance, but their experiences are completely different. The difference lies not in the situation, but in their response to it. Learning to let go also means releasing the need for certainty. Many people struggle because they want guarantees. They want to know that everything will work out exactly as planned. They want assurance that their efforts will succeed. Unfortunately, life does not offer such promises. Every meaningful goal involves uncertainty. Every relationship contains unknowns. Every future opportunity carries some level of risk. Trying to eliminate all uncertainty is impossible. Instead, emotional freedom comes from accepting uncertainty as part of life. Rather than demanding complete control over outcomes, focus on controlling your preparation, effort, and attitude. Trust yourself to handle whatever happens, rather than trying to predict every possibility. Another important aspect of letting go is releasing the past. Many people carry old mistakes, regrets, and disappointments for years. They replay events repeatedly, wishing they could change what has already happened. But no amount of reflection can alter the past. While lessons can be learned, the event itself remains unchanged. Holding on to regret does not improve the past. It only damages the present. Forgiveness often becomes an essential part of this process. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting what happened or excusing harmful behavior. It means freeing yourself from the burden of carrying resentment. When you hold on to anger, you continue allowing the past to influence your present emotional state. Letting go allows you to move forward with greater peace and clarity. As you continue developing a calm and resilient mind, remember this powerful truth. Your peace depends less on controlling life and more on accepting it. The more you try to control everything, the more frustrated you become. The more you focus on what is within your power, the stronger and calmer you feel. Life will always contain uncertainty. People will sometimes disappoint you. Plans will occasionally fail. Unexpected challenges will arise. But you do not need to control every circumstance to experience peace. You only need to control your response. When you stop fighting what cannot be changed, you free your energy for what can be changed. And in that freedom, you discover one of the deepest forms of calmness available to any human being. Chapter 8. Building Daily Habits of Inner Peace. Many people believe that calmness appears during extraordinary moments. They imagine that peace of mind arrives after a major breakthrough, a life-changing event, or the resolution of all their problems. But true calmness is rarely built in dramatic moments. It is built in ordinary moments. It grows through daily habits, small choices, and consistent actions repeated over time. Just as a strong building is constructed one brick at a time, inner peace is created through the routines you practice every day. One of the biggest misconceptions about personal growth is the belief that massive changes produce massive results. In reality, lasting transformation often comes from small habits performed consistently. A single healthy meal will not transform your body. One workout will not make you strong. Likewise, one moment of mindfulness will not permanently calm your mind. But repeated over weeks, months, and years, small actions can create extraordinary changes. The quality of your days ultimately determines the quality of your life, and your days are shaped by your habits. If your daily routine is filled with distractions, stress, and reactivity, your mind will naturally become restless. If your routine includes moments of reflection, focus, and intentional living, your mind will gradually become calmer and more resilient. The beginning of the day is especially important. The first moments after waking often set the emotional tone for everything that follows. Unfortunately, many people start their mornings by immediately exposing themselves to chaos. Before they even get out of bed, they check emails, social media feeds, messages, and news updates. Within minutes, their minds become crowded with other people's priorities, problems, and opinions. Imagine two individuals beginning their day. The first wakes up and immediately reaches for their phone. They scroll through headlines, compare themselves to others on social media, respond to messages, and absorb a flood of information. Before breakfast, they already feel rushed and mentally scattered. The second person begins differently. They spend a few quiet minutes breathing, reflecting, stretching, or planning their day. They create a sense of intention before allowing the outside world to enter. Over time, these small differences create dramatically different mental states. A peaceful morning does not require hours of elaborate rituals. Even 10 or 15 minutes can make a significant difference. You might practice gratitude, read something inspiring, take a short walk, meditate, or simply sit quietly with your thoughts. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to begin the day consciously rather than reactively. Equally important is how you manage your attention throughout the day. Calmness is not something you practice only in the morning and forget afterward. It requires ongoing awareness. Notice when stress begins to build. Notice when distractions pull your attention away from what matters. Notice when your thoughts become chaotic or your emotions start to take control. These moments provide opportunities to pause, breathe, and reconnect with yourself. Small moments of recovery throughout the day are incredibly valuable. Many people move from one task to another without ever giving their minds a chance to rest. As a result, stress accumulates. Simple habits such as taking a short walk, stretching, stepping away from screens, or practicing a few deep breaths can help restore mental balance. These brief pauses act like resets for the mind. Evening routines are just as important as morning routines. How you end your day influences the quality of your sleep, recovery, and emotional state. Many people carry the stress of the day directly into the night. They continue checking notifications, worrying about tomorrow, or replaying events from earlier in the day. Their minds remain active long after their bodies have stopped working. A calming evening routine helps create closure. It signals to the mind that it is time to slow down. This might include reading, journaling, reflecting on what went well during the day, or simply spending time away from digital distractions. The goal is to create a transition from activity to rest. A calm evening often leads to a calmer morning. Another powerful habit is practicing gratitude. Gratitude does not eliminate problems, but it changes your relationship with them. The mind naturally focuses on what is missing, wrong, or uncertain. Gratitude redirects attention toward what is present, meaningful, and valuable. Even during difficult times, there are usually things worth appreciating. Developing the habit of noticing them strengthens emotional resilience and promotes inner peace. Patience is also an essential part of building calmness. Many people become discouraged because they expect immediate results. They practice a new habit for a few days and wonder why they do not feel completely transformed. But calmness, like any meaningful skill, develops gradually. Every small effort contributes to long-term growth. Progress often happens quietly, beneath the surface, before becoming visible. The beauty of habits is that they eventually become automatic. Actions that once required effort begin to feel natural. A person who consistently practices calmness no longer has to force themselves to pause, reflect, or focus. These behaviors become part of who they are. As you continue this journey, remember that inner peace is not built through occasional inspiration. It is built through daily practice. Every morning offers a chance to begin intentionally. Every challenge provides an opportunity to respond calmly. Every evening allows you to reflect and reset. The path to a calm mind is not complicated. It is simply a series of small choices repeated day after day. And over time, those small choices create something extraordinary. A life grounded in peace, stability, and lasting inner strength. Chapter 9. Calm communication and strong relationships. No matter how calm, disciplined, or focused you become, your quality of life will always be influenced by your relationships. Human beings are social creatures. We work with others, live with others, learn from others, and share our lives with others. Because of this, one of the most important expressions of inner calmness is the way we communicate. A peaceful mind often creates peaceful relationships, while a restless mind can create unnecessary conflict and misunderstanding. Many relationship problems do not begin with bad intentions. They begin with poor communication. People misunderstand each other. Assumptions replace facts. Emotions take over. Instead of listening carefully, individuals become focused on defending themselves or proving a point. What could have been a simple conversation turns into frustration, resentment, or conflict. The ability to communicate calmly is a powerful skill because it allows you to remain effective even during emotionally charged situations. Anyone can communicate well when everyone agrees. The real test comes during disagreements, criticism, misunderstandings, and difficult conversations. These moments reveal whether you are truly in control of your emotions or simply comfortable when circumstances are easy. One of the biggest obstacles to healthy communication is the desire to be understood before understanding others. Most people listen with the intention of responding rather than truly listening. While the other person is speaking, they are already preparing their defense, planning their argument, or thinking about what they want to say next. As a result, genuine understanding rarely occurs. Calm communication begins with listening. Not passive hearing, but active listening. Active listening means giving your full attention to the person speaking. It means trying to understand their perspective, even if you disagree with it. It means asking questions, seeking clarity, and resisting the urge to interrupt. When people feel heard, they become more open, cooperative, and willing to engage in meaningful dialogue. Imagine two people having a disagreement. The first person interrupts repeatedly, becomes defensive, and focuses entirely on proving they are right. The conversation quickly becomes a battle. The second person listens carefully, asks thoughtful questions, and responds respectfully. Even if the disagreement remains unresolved, the relationship is preserved because respect remains intact. The difference lies not in the issue itself, but in how it is handled. Another important aspect of calm communication is managing emotional reactions. During conflict, emotions can rise quickly. Anger, frustration, disappointment, and hurt feelings may appear. These emotions are natural, but they become problematic when they control the conversation. A calm communicator recognizes these emotions without allowing them to dictate their words. This is where the power of pause becomes especially valuable. Before responding to criticism or disagreement, take a moment to breathe and reflect. Ask yourself whether your response will improve the situation or make it worse. Many arguments escalate because people react instantly rather than thoughtfully. A brief pause often prevents unnecessary conflict and allows for a more constructive response. The words we choose also matter. Calm communication is not about winning arguments. It is about creating understanding. Harsh words may provide temporary satisfaction, but they often leave lasting damage. Respectful language, on the other hand, creates an environment where solutions become possible. You can disagree without being disrespectful. You can express your needs without attacking someone else's character. Empathy is another key ingredient in strong relationships. Empathy means attempting to see the world through another person's eyes. It does not require agreement. It simply requires understanding. When you recognize that everyone is dealing with their own struggles, fears, and challenges, it becomes easier to respond with patience rather than judgment. Strong relationships also require emotional consistency. People feel safe around those who remain steady and predictable. If your mood constantly swings from calm to explosive, others may feel uncertain about how to interact with you. Emotional stability builds trust. Trust strengthens relationships, and strong relationships contribute significantly to inner peace. It is also important to remember that not every disagreement needs to be won. Many conflicts persist because both sides are more interested in being right than finding common ground. Sometimes the wisest response is to let go of the need to prove a point. Protecting a relationship is often more valuable than winning an argument. Ultimately, calm communication begins with self-mastery. The way you speak to others reflects the state of your inner world. When your mind is calm, your words tend to be thoughtful. When your emotions are balanced, your conversations become more productive. When you listen with genuine curiosity, relationships become stronger. As you continue your journey toward mastering your mind, remember that calmness is not meant to remain inside you. It should extend outward into the way you interact with others. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice patience, understanding, and emotional control. Strong relationships are not built through perfect communication. They are built through consistent efforts to listen, understand, and respond with wisdom. And when calmness becomes part of your communication, it not only transforms your relationships, it transforms the quality of your entire life. Chapter 10. Finding Stillness in a Noisy World. We live in one of the noisiest periods in human history. Noise is no longer limited to sounds around us. It exists in our phones, our schedules, our thoughts, our conversations, and our constant stream of information. From the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep, we are surrounded by notifications, advertisements, opinions, headlines, entertainment, and endless demands for our attention. In many ways, modern life has become a competition for focus. The result is that many people have forgotten what stillness feels like. Yet stillness is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Just as the body needs rest to recover, the mind needs stillness to remain healthy, clear, and balanced. Without it, mental fatigue accumulates, stress increases, thoughts become scattered, emotions become harder to manage. A restless environment often creates a restless mind. Many people fear silence without realizing it. Whenever a quiet moment appears, they instinctively fill it. They check their phones while waiting in line. They play music during every activity. They keep the television running in the background. They move from one form of stimulation to another without pause. Although this constant activity may seem harmless, it leaves very little room for reflection and self-awareness. Imagine a glass of muddy water that has been shaken vigorously. As long as the shaking continues, the water remains cloudy. But when the glass is set down and left undisturbed, the particles slowly settle. Eventually, the water becomes clear. The mind works in much the same way. Constant stimulation keeps thoughts swirling endlessly. Stillness allows them to settle. One of the greatest benefits of stillness is clarity. When your mind is constantly occupied, it becomes difficult to distinguish what is truly important from what is merely urgent. You may spend your days reacting to immediate demands without considering your larger goals, values, and priorities. Stillness creates the space necessary for deeper thinking. It allows you to step back from the noise and reconnect with what matters most. Stillness also strengthens self-awareness. Many people know a great deal about the world around them, but very little about themselves. They understand current events, social trends, and other people's opinions, yet rarely take time to examine their own thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. Quiet reflection provides an opportunity to understand yourself more deeply. It allows you to notice patterns in your thinking, recognize emotional triggers, and gain insight into your motivations. Another benefit of stillness is creativity. Some of the world's greatest ideas have emerged during moments of solitude and reflection. Creative breakthroughs often occur when the mind is relaxed rather than overloaded. This is why solutions sometimes appear during a walk, a shower, or a quiet moment alone. When the mind is no longer overwhelmed by constant input, it has room to make new connections and generate fresh ideas. Finding stillness does not require escaping to a remote mountain or retreating from society. It can be practiced in simple ways. A few minutes of quiet breathing in the morning, a walk without headphones, sitting outside and observing nature, turning off notifications for a period of time. These small moments create opportunities for mental recovery. Reducing unnecessary clutter is another important step. Clutter exists not only in physical spaces, but also in mental and digital environments. A crowded schedule, excessive commitments, and constant information consumption can all contribute to inner noise. Ask yourself whether every activity, obligation, and source of information truly deserves your attention. Simplifying your environment often simplifies your mind. Solitude can also play a valuable role in cultivating stillness. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. Loneliness is the painful feeling of disconnection. Solitude is the intentional practice of spending time alone with yourself. In solitude, you are free from external pressures and distractions. You can reflect, recharge, and reconnect with your own thoughts. Many emotionally healthy people view solitude not as something to avoid, but as something to value. Of course, finding stillness may feel uncomfortable at first. A mind accustomed to constant stimulation often resists silence. Thoughts that were previously drowned out by noise may suddenly become noticeable. Restlessness may appear. This is normal. Like any skill, stillness requires practice. The more you cultivate it, the more natural it becomes. Perhaps the greatest gift of stillness is perspective. When you step away from the noise, many problems lose their intensity. Concerns that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. Emotions that felt urgent begin to settle. You remember that not everything requires an immediate response. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every distraction deserves your energy. In a noisy world, stillness is an act of strength. It is a deliberate choice to protect your peace and reclaim your attention. It is a reminder that clarity, wisdom, and calmness often emerge not from doing more, but from creating space. As you continue your journey toward mastering your mind, remember that stillness is not empty. It is full of insight, awareness, and possibility. When you learn to embrace quiet moments, you discover something many people spend their entire lives searching for: peace that comes from within, rather than from the world around you. Chapter 11. Becoming unshakable under pressure. Pressure has a way of revealing who we truly are. When life is easy, almost anyone can appear confident, calm, and composed. But when challenges arise, deadlines approach, plans collapse, or unexpected setbacks appear, our character is tested. Pressure exposes weaknesses, magnifies emotions, and forces us to confront uncertainty. Yet it can also reveal strength, resilience, and courage. The difference depends on how we respond. Many people spend their lives trying to avoid pressure. They seek comfort, predictability, and certainty. While this desire is understandable, it is unrealistic. Pressure is an unavoidable part of life. Every meaningful goal carries responsibility. Every worthwhile challenge involves risk. Every period of growth requires stepping beyond familiar territory. The question is not whether pressure will appear. The question is whether you will allow it to break you or strengthen you. One of the biggest misconceptions about mentally strong people is that they do not feel pressure. In reality, they experience pressure just like everyone else. They feel nervous before important events. They encounter doubt during difficult situations. They face fear when outcomes are uncertain. The difference is that they have learned how to function effectively, despite those feelings. They do not wait for pressure to disappear before taking action. They move forward while carrying it. Imagine a piece of coal buried deep beneath the earth. Over time, intense pressure transforms it into a diamond. The pressure itself is not the enemy. It is the process through which strength is developed. Human beings often grow in a similar way. Some of life's greatest lessons emerge from its most challenging moments. Adversity forces us to adapt, learn, and discover abilities we never knew we possessed. When setbacks occur, most people focus immediately on what they have lost. They see obstacles as evidence of failure. They interpret difficulties as signs that something has gone wrong. Resilient individuals view challenges differently. They understand that setbacks are not the end of the story. They are part of the story. Every successful person has faced rejection, disappointment, mistakes, and periods of uncertainty. What separates them is their willingness to continue moving forward, despite those experiences. One reason pressure feels overwhelming is that the mind often exaggerates its consequences. A single setback begins to feel permanent. One mistake seems capable of ruining everything. A difficult moment is interpreted as a disaster rather than a temporary challenge. Under pressure, perspective becomes extremely important. Asking yourself, "Will this matter a year from now?" can often reduce the intensity of the moment. Many problems that seem enormous today eventually become small chapters in a much larger story. Another key to becoming unshakable is focusing on what you can control. During high-pressure situations, people often become consumed by factors outside their influence. They worry about outcomes, other people's opinions, and circumstances they cannot change. This only increases stress. Calm individuals redirect their attention toward what they can control: their preparation, effort, attitude, and response. By narrowing their focus to actionable steps, they reduce anxiety and increase effectiveness. Consider an athlete preparing for an important competition. They cannot control the performance of their opponents. They cannot control unexpected events during the competition. They cannot guarantee victory. What they can control is their training, mindset, and effort. By focusing on these factors, they conserve energy and perform at their best. The same principle applies to every area of life. Pressure also becomes more manageable when you stop demanding perfection from yourself. Perfectionism creates unnecessary stress because it turns every challenge into a test of self-worth. One mistake feels unacceptable. One setback feels devastating. Unshakable people understand that mistakes are part of growth. They focus on progress rather than perfection. They learn from failures without allowing failures to define them. Another important lesson is that resilience is built before it is needed. Just as a tree develops strong roots before a storm arrives, emotional strength is cultivated through daily habits and practices. The calmness, focus, and self-control you build during ordinary days become your foundation during extraordinary challenges. This is why the principles discussed throughout this audiobook matter so much. Every moment of mindfulness, every act of patience, every intentional choice strengthens your ability to handle future pressure. It is also helpful to remember that discomfort is not always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes discomfort is evidence that you are growing. Learning a new skill feels uncomfortable. Taking responsibility feels uncomfortable. Facing fears feels uncomfortable. Growth and discomfort often travel together. When you stop viewing discomfort as an enemy, you become more willing to face challenges with courage. Perhaps the most powerful shift occurs when you begin seeing pressure as an opportunity rather than a threat. Pressure can sharpen focus. It can reveal hidden strengths. It can teach valuable lessons about character and perseverance. While no one enjoys difficult circumstances, those circumstances often become the source of our greatest growth. As you continue mastering your mind, remember that becoming unshakable does not mean becoming invincible. It does not mean you never feel fear, stress, or uncertainty. It means developing the ability to remain steady despite those feelings. It means trusting yourself to handle challenges rather than fearing them. Life will test you. There will be moments when plans fail, pressure rises, and uncertainty fills the air. In those moments, remember everything you have learned. Pause before reacting. Focus on what you can control. Accept what you cannot. Trust your ability to adapt and grow. The strongest people are not those who never face storms. They are those who learn how to stand firm while the storm is raging. And when you develop that kind of resilience, you become something truly powerful, a person who remains calm, capable, and unshakable under pressure. Chapter 12. The Calm Mind, the Extraordinary Life. As we reach the final chapter of this journey, it is important to pause and reflect on a simple but powerful truth. A calm mind changes everything. Throughout this audiobook, we have explored many different aspects of calmness. We have discussed the hidden cost of mental chaos, the importance of controlling attention, the power of pausing before reacting, the art of managing thoughts, emotional mastery, letting go of what cannot be controlled, building peaceful habits, strengthening relationships, embracing stillness, and becoming resilient under pressure. At first glance, these lessons may seem like separate ideas, but in reality, they are all connected. Together, they form the foundation of an extraordinary life. Many people spend years chasing external success while neglecting their inner world. They pursue more money, greater status, better opportunities, and endless achievements. While there is nothing wrong with ambition, external success alone cannot create lasting peace. A person can have wealth and still be anxious. They can have recognition and still feel overwhelmed. They can achieve impressive goals and still struggle with inner turmoil. The reason is simple. Wherever you go, your mind goes with you. If your mind is constantly restless, no achievement will ever feel like enough. There will always be another goal, another problem, another source of worry. But when you cultivate calmness, your relationship with life begins to change. You stop depending entirely on external circumstances for your sense of well-being. Instead, you develop an inner foundation that remains stable regardless of what is happening around you. A calm mind improves every area of life because it influences every decision you make. Consider your health. Chronic stress affects sleep, energy levels, focus, and overall well-being. A calmer mind reduces unnecessary stress and supports healthier habits. When your thoughts become less chaotic, your body often benefits as well. Think about your relationships. Many conflicts are not caused by major problems, but by emotional reactions, misunderstandings, and poor communication. A calm person listens more effectively, responds more thoughtfully, and creates stronger connections with others. They are less likely to be controlled by anger, frustration, or defensiveness. As a result, their relationships become more stable and fulfilling. The same principle applies to work and personal achievement. Calmness improves focus. Focus improves performance. Performance creates results. While others become distracted by stress and pressure, a calm person remains centered on what matters most. They conserve energy, think clearly, and make better decisions. Over time, these advantages compound and lead to extraordinary outcomes. But perhaps the greatest benefit of a calm mind is not productivity, success, or even happiness. It is freedom. Most people spend much of their lives reacting. They react to criticism. They react to bad news. They react to unexpected challenges. Their emotions rise and fall based on external events. In many ways, they become prisoners of circumstance. Their peace depends on everything going according to plan. A calm mind breaks this pattern. When you develop inner calmness, you no longer feel compelled to react to every situation. You create space between events and responses. You choose your actions more deliberately. You stop giving away your emotional power to every opinion, problem, or inconvenience that crosses your path. This freedom changes how you experience life. Difficult situations still occur, but they no longer control you. Uncertainty still exists, but it no longer dominates your thinking. Challenges still arise, but they become opportunities for growth rather than sources of panic. The extraordinary life is not a life without problems. Such a life does not exist. Every person, regardless of success or circumstance, faces difficulties. The extraordinary life is one in which challenges are met with wisdom instead of fear, patience instead of frustration, and resilience instead of despair. It is also important to remember that calmness is not a destination, it is a practice. There will be days when you feel centered and focused. There will also be days when stress returns, distractions increase, and emotions become difficult to manage. This is normal. Growth is never a straight line. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. Every time you pause before reacting, you strengthen your calmness. Every time you let go of what you cannot control, you strengthen your calmness. Every time you choose patience, focus, or understanding, you strengthen your calmness. Think of calmness as a muscle. The more consistently you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Small daily actions may seem insignificant in the moment, but they accumulate over time. What begins as a conscious effort eventually becomes part of your character. Imagine the person you could become if you consistently applied the lessons from this audiobook. Imagine facing challenges with confidence instead of fear. Imagine handling criticism without losing your composure. Imagine maintaining focus in a world full of distractions. Imagine experiencing uncertainty without becoming overwhelmed. Imagine living with a deeper sense of peace, regardless of external circumstances. That version of yourself is not a fantasy. It is a possibility. The tools are now in your hands. The principles are available to you. The only question that remains is whether you will practice them. Remember, the world will continue to be noisy. There will always be pressures, demands, distractions, and uncertainties. You cannot control all of them, but you can control how you respond. You can choose what deserves your attention. You can choose how you think. You can choose how you act. And those choices, repeated day after day, shape the quality of your life. As we come to the end of this audiobook, remember that the journey toward a calmer mind does not end here. In many ways, it is only beginning. Throughout this book, we have explored a simple but life-changing idea. Peace is not found by controlling the world around you. It is found by learning to control your response to the world around you. The chaos may continue. There will still be unexpected challenges, difficult people, stressful situations, and uncertain outcomes. Life will not suddenly become perfect, but you can become stronger. You can choose to pause before reacting. You can choose to focus your attention on what truly matters. You can choose to let go of what you cannot control. You can choose to observe your thoughts without becoming trapped by them. And you can choose calmness even when circumstances invite anxiety, frustration, or fear. That is the true power of a calm mind. The lessons in this audiobook are not meant to be remembered once and forgotten. They are meant to be practiced. Calmness is built through daily choices, small habits, and consistent effort. Every moment presents an opportunity to strengthen this skill. Every challenge becomes a chance to apply what you have learned. There will be days when staying calm feels easy, and there will be days when it feels difficult. Do not be discouraged. Progress is not measured by perfection. It is measured by your willingness to keep practicing.